Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about basic circuit elements. I hope that everyone had viewed my previous class. In that class we had already explained about the definition of basic circuit element. So in this class we are going to discuss the basic circuit elements one by one. So first one is resistor. So imagine you are having a conducting material in your hand, and you know that conducting material have a large number of electrons inside it. So when we apply a voltage from an external source to this conducting material, what will happen? The electrons inside the conducting material start moving in a particular direction according to the polarity of the applied voltage. And when these charge carriers move through the conducting material, it will collide with other electrons and ions in the conducting material, and this collision causes an opposition to the movement of the flow of electrons. We all know that the flow of electrons will produces the current. So in brief, the property of a conducting material to oppose the flow of current through it is called as resistance, and the element which is used to represent this property is what is called as resistor. And resistor is represented, we have seen resistor in our laboratories and all, and the mathematical representation of the resistor is given by in the mathematical model we represent resistor by using this symbol, and it is denoted by capital letter R. As you can see, it is a two-terminal device. We all know that resistance is always measured in ohms. Okay, now we will see the factors which the resistance depends upon. This is very important from the exam point of view. Always questions will be there in competitive examinations asking what will happen when this factor increases. Like that the questions will come. So we will see one by one what are the factors that are affecting resistance. So the first factor is length of the conducting material. So what will happen when the length of the conducting material is increased? Let's see. So when the length of the conducting material is increased, the electron has to travel more path through the conducting material, which means that it will collide with more electrons, right? This means that this collision means that there is a more opposition to the flow of electrons through the material. So as the length of the material increases, the resistance also increases. As the collision increases, resistance increases. Therefore, as the length increases, resistance also increase. Now let us see the next factor, area of cross section of the conducting material. Imagine you have increased the area of cross section of the conducting material. So when we increase the area of cross section of the conducting material, the electron will get a chance to move freely through the material. Suppose initially the electrons have only this much space to travel through the conductor. So when you increase the area of the conductor, now the electrons can move freely, more freely with less collision through the conducting material. So less collision means the resistance will be less. So as the area increases, resistance decreases. Now we will consider the next factor, nature of the material. So by the nature of material we mean that imagine you have other conditions are constant, like length of the conducting material and area of the cross section of the conducting material is constant. In that case, imagine say silver and copper. We know that silver have more number of free electrons than that present in the copper. So silver will be more conducting, right? Which means that silver have less resistance. So this property is considered as a nature of material, like number of free electrons and all. The next factor is temperature. So dependence of resistance on temperature is different for metals, semiconductors and alloys. So in case of metal, as the resistance increases, the temperature also increase. And in case of semiconductors, as the resistance increase, the temperature decrease. But in case of certain alloys like nichrome, constantan and manganese, the resistance, the temperature will not have much effect, the variation in the temperature will not have much effect on the value of resistance. So these are the factors depending on the factors which resistance of a conducting material depend on. So you have to be thorough with all these 4 factors. There will be sometimes in small examinations and all, competitive examinations and all, there will be questions from this side also. Now we will discuss about Ohm's law. You all are familiar with Ohm's law, so I am not going to write the statement of Ohm's law. For those who need the statement, they can refer to any textbook and it is easily available, but I will once we will discuss on the statement. So according to Ohm's law, that is, Ohm's law states that the current through a conducting material is directly proportional to the voltage across its terminals. The current, once again I will say, the current through a conducting material is directly proportional to the voltage across its terminal. So V is proportional to I provided the temperature is constant. So Ohm's law, this particular portion is very important because Ohm's law cannot be applied if the temperature, if this factor is not constant. At constant temperature, that is physical conditions, environmental conditions is always considered as constant while applying the Ohm's law. So at constant temperature, voltage across the current through a conducting material is directly proportional to the voltage across the terminal. And to remove the proportionality, we will put a constant. V is equal to I into R, and this R is called as resistance, and this is very important relation. V is equal to I into R, and R is the resistance of the material measured in ohms. We have discussed the factors depending on the on which the resistance depends on. Now we will discuss a relation in which all these factors are considered. So let's see what that equation is. So we know that at a given temperature, resistance of a material is equal to rho into L by A. We have already discussed about how these factors, length of the conductor, area of cross section, and the resistivity of the material, the nature of the material and temperature of the material, that factor is represented by this specific resistance or resistivity of the material. So specific resistance means that if specific resistance is very high, it will offer more resistance to the flow of electron, which means the resistance will increase. So that is what this parameter indicates. So resistivity is always measured in ohm meter. Ohm meter, unit is ohm meter. Specific resistance, if we see in textbooks and all, specific resistance is always shown with respect to at a certain temperature. So resistivity also depends on temperature factor also. Now we will discuss another parameter, conductance, this is very important when we do analysis and all. So now let us see what conductance is. The reciprocal of resistance is called as conductance, and it is denoted by the letter, capital letter G. So G is equal to 1 by R, and its unit is mho or Siemens. Another term which is associated with this is conductivity, and conductivity can be defined as a reciprocal of resistivity, and it is the ability of the material to allow the flow of electrons through it. So conductivity is represented by the letter sigma, and sigma is equal to 1 by resistivity. So this is very important. This is used in circuit analysis and all. Sometimes we are asked to find the conductance in the series and parallel connection of resistors. We know that R is equal to 0 means the resistance is at its minimum value. So let us consider the equation V is equal to I into R. If in this equation we put R is equal to 0, the value of V will become I into 0, and that is equal to 0. So when the value of R is equal to 0, the potential difference is 0. Potential difference is 0 means it can be 2 points have the same potential. So, and from this relation, if you see that the resistance, even though the value of the resistance is 0, current can have any value. So which means that when the resistance is at minimum, maximum current flow through the conducting material. And this particular condition where the voltage is difference is zero can be called as short circuit condition. And it is represented by so if you say that the potential between two points is same, which means that if it is connected by a simple connecting wire, both these points have same potential. So this is how you can see the short circuit in the network, and all they are representing it like this only. Now we will consider the condition when R is equal to infinity. Now consider the condition when R is equal to infinity. R is equal to infinity means the value of resistance is maximum. In that case, consider the equation from the equation V is equal to IR, we can write I is equal to V by R. So when we put the value of resistance as infinity in this equation, the value of the current becomes 0. So if you see that there will be no flow of current in the circuit when R is equal to infinity. So also we can see that the value of V is not V is not 0. It can take any value. So which means that this is represented. This condition is called as open circuit. And it is represented as so if this is the case, if the voltage is applied, since the resistance is infinite, the current will not flow through the circuit, and it is represented by this particular form. That is, there will be some voltage across the terminals called open circuit voltage. In some case it is represented as VOC, and there will be no current. So these are the conditions, maximum and minimum conditions when we consider about the value of resistance. Now we will see what happens when current is passed through a resistor. When current is passed through a resistor, it absorbs power. So the power absorbed by the resistor is given by the relation P is equal to V into I. But we know that the value of V is I into R. Therefore the relation can be written as I squared R. Or if we substitute for I is equal to V by R, this will become V squared by R. You can use any of the three relation. In small problems, you will be asked to find out the power absorbed by the resistor. In that case, you can use any of these relation depending upon what is given, whether current is given or voltage is given. You can use that equation. Now we will see what happens. The power absorbed by the resistor will be dissipated in the form of heat energy. So the energy dissipated by the resistor, W, is given by I squared R into T, or it is equal to V squared by R into T, equal to VI into T. Because we have studied in our previous class that work is given by power into time. Power is the rate of doing work. That is what we have discussed in the last class. So these are the relations we need to remember while studying about resistors. Now one more thing I forgot to tell. Resistors which obeys Ohm's law are called as linear resistors. Linear. And those resistors which does not obey Ohm's law are called as non-linear. So this is all about resistors. Now we will go on to the second circuit element, that is inductor. One more thing, what will happen when we increase the thickness of the wire? For a thickness of the wire, when we increase the thickness of the wire, in effect we are increasing the area of cross section of the wire. For you to imagine, understand it easily, imagine that if you want to increase the thickness of this much wire, you consider placing so many wires like this, so that thickness of the wire is increased, right? So when the thickness increase means the area of cross section is increased. When the area of cross section is increased, what will happen is that the resistance decreases. So this is all about resistor and what you have to learn about resistors in this section. And now we will move on to the next component, that is inductor.
So what do you mean by inductance? Inductance is actually the ability of a material to oppose the change in the amount of current flowing through it. Now you should note that it is not opposing the current, it is opposing the change in the amount of current flowing through that material, and the element which is used to represent this particular property is called as inductor, and it is represented by the symbol. This is also a two-terminal device. Inductance is always measured in Henry or H, denoted by capital letter H. So let us see what happens when current flows through a conducting material.
When current flow through a conducting material, it will produce a magnetic field surrounding the conductor. So this magnetic field will be represented by magnetic lines of force. We all know this, we have studied it in our smaller classes like plus 2 and all. We have already studied this, so I am not going into depth. So when current is passing through a conductor, it will produce magnetic field surrounding the conductor. So this magnetic field is represented by magnetic lines of force. When the current when current is passed through a conductor, it will produce magnetic field around it. So when the magnetic field is represented by the magnetic lines of force, and what will happen when the magnetic lines of force is cut, or when the magnetic lines of force changes, it will produce an EMF, and this EMF will induce an EMF, and this EMF is called as the back EMF or counter EMF, and the direction of the induced EMF is always such that it opposes the cause or the effect producing it, like if it opposes the applied voltage. So here when the current increases, the magnetic flux also changes. When the magnetic flux changes, a voltage will be induced in the conductor. If voltage is induced in the same conductor itself, then it is called as self-inductance. If voltage is induced in another conductor, it can be called as mutual inductance. This voltage will oppose the applied voltage or the increase in the current. If it is increase in the current, the EMF will oppose the increase in the current. If it is a decrease in the current, the EMF will oppose the decrease in the current. Imagine you are having a heavy object in your hand and you are asked to move the heavy object. So it will be very difficult for you to move the heavy object in the beginning. But once it starts moving, it will be not that much difficult to move the object, right? So when you are asked to stop the object also, then also it will be very difficult for you to stop the object. And this is what actually inductor happens in inductor also. If you imagine, inductor opposes any change in the current through it. Like when we if it is connected in a circuit and if we close the switch, then there will be a sudden increase in the current, and the EMF induced will oppose this increase in the current. So if you open the switch, what will happen? The current in the inductor decreases, and then also an EMF will be induced, and this EMF will oppose the decrease in the current. So it should be always kept in mind that inductor always opposes the change in the current. Okay. Now we will see about the shape of the inductor. In most of the pictures you can see inductor, even in the symbol itself you can see that it is represented in the coil form. Why it is like that? So a straight conductor is also having the property of inductance. But if you consider the straight conductor like this, what actually happen? The flux linkage will be less. So when the flux linkage is less, means the induced EMF will be less and opposition will be less. In that case, the inductance will be less. So if you change the conductor into a coil form like this, okay, when you apply a voltage, a current will flow through the conductor, and when the current flows through a conductor, it will produce magnetic field surrounding the conductor like this, right? So it will produce this kind of magnetic flux in every part of the conductor. So the flux linkage will be more in the case of coil. That is why inductor is considered to be in the coil shape, so that it will have more higher value for inductance. So Inductance is the central portion of the inductor is called as core. The core can be air, that is, it can be a magnetic material or a non-magnetic material. Non-magnetic material like air, or magnetic material like soft iron core. Soft iron core made up of soft iron. So if the core is made up of soft iron, the representation of the inductor can be seen like this. In certain textbook, the inductor will be represented by this particular symbol, and this indicates that the core is made of soft iron core. So this is all about, every circuit is having conductors. So whenever there is a conductor, there will be some inductance associated with it. But the thing is that inductance does not oppose the flow of current, it opposes only the amount of current that flows through a conductor, change in the amount of current that is flowing through the conductor. To see how voltage is induced, for you to understand, I will explain it with a simple example. Imagine when the current increases, the magnetic field expands. So when the magnetic field expands, the electrons in the conductor starts moving in the direction of the magnetic field, right? So what happens is that the electrons will move from one part of the conductor to other part of the conductor. So now what actually happens is that in one side there will be a concentration of negative charge, and from the place where the electrons left, there will be some concentration of the positive charge, and this is called as there will be a voltage difference, right? And this is called as the counter EMF. This is how a voltage is induced when the flux changes in the conductor. You can imagine this as you are sweeping with a broom, sweeping the electrons with a broomstick, so that the electrons will move to a corner. The broom can be imagined as a magnetic field. So it will be easier for you to now imagine how this voltage or potential difference is produced, or EMF is produced. Now we have discussed about the shape also. Now we will see the factors on which the inductance depends on. The value of inductance depends on one by one.
You all are familiar with this equation, L is equal to mu into n squared A by L. So n is the number of turns in the inductor. So what will happen when the number of turns in the inductor increases? From the relation we can see that when the number of turns is increased, the value of the inductance is increased. How it will happen? So let's see. Consider an inductor having two windings like this. Consider another inductor having four windings. So you can see that when the current through the inductor changes, when the current through the conductor changes, the more magnetic field, if the current increases, more magnetic field will be produced. Here the magnetic flux linkage is less because here there are only two turns. The linking will be between these two windings. But in this case, the magnetic flux will link with the four windings. That means EMF, the voltage induced will be more. That is counter EMF will be more in this case. So when the induced voltage is more, the opposition will be more in this case. So when the opposition is more means it is the value of the inductance that is increasing, because we have already discussed inductance is the ability of the material to oppose the change in the current flowing through it. So the opposition will be more in this case, and therefore inductance will be more. And this is how number of turns will affect the value of inductance. Now consider the second parameter, area of cross section. When we are discussing about the area of cross section, actually we are considering the diameter. Consider the core having we want to make a coil having a large diameter like this and another like this. Okay. So for winding the coil, this will need more length of the coil, like more length of the coil, right? In this case, more length is needed. In this case, that much is not needed, right? So in this case, the current can have to flow only through this much path. But here it has to flow through this much path. So here the magnetic flux will be more and the linkage will be more. So in the way, which means that the opposition induced EMF will be more in that case, and voltage will be opposition will also be more in this case. So the value of inductance will be higher in this case. Now consider the parameter L. So this can be explained in a different way. Consider the other parameters are constant, like number of turns and area of cross section are same. Now we are asked to find, we are going to see how it is going to depend on the value of length of the inductor.
Consider that the inductor have only 3 turns, n is equal to 3. Okay. So if we are given a small wire, okay, we are given a small wire, we have to make 3 turns from that wire, then we have to keep the winding very close to each other, right, like this. But if the length of the wire is more, to make the 3 turns we have to make it at a some distance apart, so that only it will make complete 3 winding. So in this case the flux will be concentrated, more concentrated flux will be here, because the windings are very close to each other. Here the flux linkage will be less because there is some distance between the windings. So in this case the opposition will be more in this case than this, because here the voltage induced will be more in this case. So as the opposition is more in this case, as the length of the conductor decreases, the inductance increases. So that parameter is like that. Now we will consider the parameter mu. Mu can be called as the permeability. If the core is a magnetic material, means the magnetic flux, more magnetic flux can pass through it. So more magnetic flux, when there is a change in the current, induced EMF will be more in that case, therefore inductance is also more in that case. So that is how it depends on the parameter mu. Now we have completed discussing about the factors which inductance depends upon. Which all are the factors? First one is the length, then area of cross section, then number of turns, and then permeability of the core. Now we will discuss the relation between the voltage and current flowing through the inductor. This is the equation relating the voltage and current through the inductor, and L is the inductance of the inductance. And now we will find value of current. So from this equation you can write that V into dt is equal to L into di, right? So di is equal to 1 by L into V into dt. So integrating both sides, di from t0 to t, that is equal to 1 by L into integral t0 to t V into dt, right? So when you integrate, we will get I of t minus I of t0 is equal to 1 by L into integral t0 to t V into dt. So if you shift this parameter to that side, then current through the inductor can be given by I of t is equal to 1 by L into integral t0 to t V into dt plus I of t0. We can take this as dt dash, because here we are considering the parameter t. So take this as vt dash, then there will be no confusion also. So the current through an inductor depends upon the previous current also. Previous current in the sense, imagine you have connected the inductor in a circuit and the inductor has stored some energy inside it. Now you discharge the inductor from that circuit. When you connect that inductor in another circuit, in that case you have to consider that current also. So this will be equation, and this particular portion will be important when you do analysis also. So always keep this in mind. So these are the equations relay of voltage and current through an inductor. Now if you look at this equation, you can see that when this particular factor is equal to 0 means voltage through the inductor is 0. That is, when the change in the amount of current is 0, the voltage is 0. What do you mean by that? What actually it indicates? That is, change in the current is 0 means it's a DC current. So when DC current, the inductor act as a V is equal to 0 means what? Short circuit. Therefore we should see it like that. Inductor act as a short circuit to DC current. Inductor act as a short circuit to DC current. Inductor act as a short circuit to DC. Now we will see we should also keep in mind that the inductor is always an energy storing device. It will not dissipate energy in the ideal case. So if you want to inductor stores energy where it stores energy inside the magnetic field. Now we will derive the energy relation between relation for energy stored in the inductor. So V is equal to L into di by dt. Now we know that P is equal to V into I. Therefore L into di by dt into I, and that is equal to Li into di by dt. Now we know that energy is equal to P into T or P into dt. That is equal to, here if you take it like that, integral P dt is equal to Li into di integral. So this can be written as energy is equal to L into integral I into di, and that is equal to half into Li square. So energy stored inside the inductor is given by the relation half Li square. So from this equation we should know that even though the voltage is 0, inductor can store energy. When will the voltage become 0? When DC current flows through it. So inductor allows the DC current to flow through it, and inductor will store some energy according to the relation half into Li square. So these are the main equations we have to keep in our mind when we do the problems related to inductor. And now we will see how a practical inductor is represented. A practical inductor have some resistance and capacitive winding capacitance also. So this resistance is because inductor is made up of a conducting material. The conducting material will have some resistance. We have already discussed while taking classes on resistor. And about winding capacitance, here you can see that this coil can be considered as a two metallic surfaces, and the air in between can be considered as a dielectric. So there will be some winding capacitance, and it is represented by this. So this is a practical representation of a practical inductor. By this we have completed our discussion on inductor. Now we move on to the next circuit element, capacitor. So you are familiar with the capacitor, and many of you have seen capacitor in the laboratory also, like ceramic capacitors, electrolytic capacitors and all. Now we will see what is actually a capacitor. What actually a capacitor is, sorry. A capacitor consists of two conducting surfaces. I am saying that surfaces separated by a dielectric medium. So by surface I actually mean that the surface can be metal plate, conductor plates, or foil, or any solid shape, or even wires. The thing is that it should be conducting and it should be separated by a dielectric medium. So capacitor consisting of two conducting surfaces which is separated by a dielectric medium. Now we will see what actually happens or how capacitor store charges. We know that like inductor, capacitor is also an energy storing device. So let us see how capacitor stores energy inside it. Here consider two conducting surfaces, and it is connected to a voltage, external voltage supply, and these conducting surfaces are separated by a small distance d. So what actually happens when you connect it to an external source? The positive terminal of the battery will attract the electrons in this conducting place, free electrons in the conducting place towards it, right? So that this charge will acquire some positive charge because electron is moving out of this plate. So this will get a positive charge. Now these electrons will be repelled by the negative terminal of the battery, and it will get deposited on the other plate. So this will be of negative charge. So if this plate is large, it can store more charge on it. That you should understand. So why these charges cannot flow into this? Because it is separated by an insulating medium or dielectric medium, more specifically dielectric medium. So this is how a conductor stores charge inside it. Imagine there is no spacing in between, like there is no insulating medium, then the capacitor, the function itself is not possible because it cannot store charge. This will complete when the metal conductors are joined, the circuit is complete and the current will flow. So because of the presence of the dielectric in between, the capacitor is able to store charges inside it. Now for you to understand more clearly, consider a water tank in which the water is pumped. So if the water tank is very large, we can store more charge inside, more water inside it, isn't it? So if the capacity of the tank is small, it means that it can store only less amount of water. Similarly, if the capacitance is more charges can be stored in it, and if capacitance is less, which means that it can store only less amount of charge in it. Now, capacitance can be defined as the ratio of the charge on any one of the plate to the voltage between the plates. You should know that it is not the supply voltage, it is a voltage between the plate. C is equal to Q by V. Why we consider charge on one plate? Because both the charges will have the same magnitude, but the difference is in the polarity. Like in both one plate it have positive 3 coulomb and the other plate it will have minus 3 coulomb. The only thing is that one is positive and one is negative. So we have to consider only charge on one plate and voltage between the plates. So this is what is called as capacitance, and it is represented by the capacitor is represented by the symbol this and is denoted by capital letter C, and it is measured in farad. The unit of capacitance is farad. Now we will see about dielectric. Of course, dielectric is an insulating medium, but we use the term dielectric to specify the material having high polarizability. High polarizability. Material having high polarizability. What do you mean by polarizability? Initially, there are actually two kinds of molecule, polar and non-polar molecule. Okay. Non-polar molecule. Consider an unpolarized molecule, or in case of unpolarized molecule, the positive nuclei will be surrounded by an electron cloud. So under the influence of an electric field, what actually happens is that this electron cloud will shift its position from its average equilibrium position. Now what will happen is that there will be due to the separation of charges through by a distance, there will be a dipole moment. Consider the capacitor like this, and we know that when the battery is connected across it, the capacitor will acquire a charge like this, right? Capacitor will acquire a charge like this, and when a dielectric is placed inside it, the non-polar molecule will the electrons and nucleus will shift its position like this. So that in effect the other side will acquire, and here a negative charge will be seen, and here a so this can be represented in this way. So now we can see that the external electric field is in this direction and internal electric field is in this direction. So these two electric fields are not equal. The net effect is that the total electric field is reduced by a small amount, and you can also see that the net voltage inside also between the plate is also getting reduced. You can see that because of the this polarity plus minus, here also plus minus, so the net voltage between the plate is also getting reduced. So when the dielectric is placed inside it, we have seen the relation C is equal to Q by V. So we should always keep in mind that the capacitor, it will always charge up to the supply voltage. It cannot charge more than that value. So once the supply voltage, but we can see that when dielectric is placed inside and the voltage supply is connected like this, we have already discussed that net voltage in this portion is getting reduced, but the voltage supply will try to maintain the voltage at, say if it is 12 volt, maintain the voltage at 12 volt itself. So the voltage value remains constant. So but when it is supplying more, trying to maintain the voltage at this particular value, it is depositing more charge. Therefore charge is increasing and capacitance will increase. Therefore placing a dielectric between the capacitor plates increases the capacitance also. Usually we will choose materials with a high dielectric constant, and for vacuum the dielectric constant is 1, and we always choose materials with a dielectric constant higher than vacuum. And this is all about dielectric and dielectric. Dielectric constant is represented by the letter K and or kappa. Kappa. And this actually happens in case of a non-polar molecule. But if it is a polar molecule, inside the capacitor it will be in this position or this position or this position, somewhat like this. Okay, plus 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 plus, minus 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 minus. So this will be plus minus plus minus plus minus plus minus. So if in this case, what will happen is that this molecule will reorient itself in such a way that it will be like this. This will reorient like this. So in case of polar molecule, the molecules will have already some dipole moment, but it is not in alignment. So it will try to align with the external electric field like this. So it will be like this only. Here also, therefore net voltage is reduced. So this is the how or what happens with the dielectric and how dielectric affects the capacitance. Now we will see the factors on which the capacitance depend. Dielectric usually uses ceramic, paper, mica, etc. can be used as dielectric. If we use a value of a higher material with a high dielectric constant, which means we can produce capacitance of very high capacitance value. Now we will see the factors on which the capacitance of a capacitor depends on. C is equal to epsilon A by D, and we have already discussed this factor. As the area of the plate increase, this is of course an equation of parallel plate capacitor, but for discussing about the factors, we consider it for in every case we are considering this equation only. So capacitance is equal to epsilon A by D, and A is the area of the plate and D is the distance between the plate. Epsilon is the permittivity. When area of the conducting plates are increased, it can store more charge, therefore capacitance increases. Now let us see what will happen when the value of D is decreased. So when the value of D decreases, we know that equation connecting electric field and distance is that E is equal to V by D. So when this particular value decreases, the value of electric field increases. So under the influence of this particular electric field, more molecules more dipoles will be formed inside the dielectric, and as a result the net voltage inside the plate will get decreased. So the battery will try to maintain the voltage, and so as a result more charges will be deposited on the plate, and as a result the capacitance will be increased. And this is how the distance between the plates affect the capacitance. Now we will discuss about the factor epsilon. Epsilon is called as the permittivity of the medium, and it has some standard value 8.85 into 10 raised to minus 12 farad per meter, and you all know this value. There is no need of writing that. Still we will write 8.85 into 10 raised to minus 12. That is the value of epsilon 0, and we know that epsilon is equal to epsilon 0 epsilon r, and this epsilon r is called a dielectric constant. It can be represented by K also, kappa. So when epsilon is more, which means that the capacitance will be more. We can produce a capacitance with a higher value and a smaller size if permittivity is very high. And now we will see the voltage relation between the voltage and current through a capacitor. This is the equation connecting the current and the voltage through the capacitor. I is equal to C into dV by dt. Okay, from this equation, if you see that if the change in the voltage is 0, that means current is 0. So what do you mean by change in the voltage is 0? Means it is a DC voltage. Then the current is 0 means open circuit. So capacitor acts as an open circuit to DC. Capacitor acts as open circuit to DC. This should be kept in mind because this is also a very important thing when we are studying analogs and all. This will be applied every now and then. Now capacitor open circuit to DC voltage. Now capacitor is also an energy storing device. It does not dissipate energy like inductor. Now we will calculate the voltage across the capacitor. So from this relation we can write it like this: dV is equal to 1 by C into integral I into dt, right? So integral dV with respect to t to t0 to t is equal to 1 by C integral t0 to t I into dt, and this can be written as V of t0 minus V of t minus V of t0 is equal to 1 by C into integral t0 to t I dot dt. Now if we shift this value to that side, then we will get V of t is equal to 1 by C integral t0 to t I dot dt plus V of t0. Like inductor, capacitance depends on the voltage, previous voltage. That is, imagine you have connected the capacitor across a circuit and it has charged up to certain voltage, V of certain voltage, say if it is 12 volt, the battery supply voltage is 12 volt, the capacitor will charge up to 12 volt. Then we have disconnected the circuit, the charge will be stored inside the capacitor. Now if you connect it to another circuit, it will start discharging. So this factor has also to be considered, V of t0. So this equation is very important from the analysis point of view, so you should keep this factor also in your mind. We know that P is equal to V into I, that is V into C into dV by dt. Energy is integral P dt, that is equal to integral P dt is equal to C into integral V into dV. Therefore W is equal to C into half V square, that is equal to half CV square. So this is the energy stored by the capacitor. While considering the factors on which the capacitance depends upon, you should consider only this equation. This is not an equation. You should not say that capacitor depends upon the charge, voltage, etc. No, this is wrong. While considering the factors affecting the how the capacitance can be increased or decreased, it only consider this equation only. Sometimes we may get confused. There are two equations, so we can use anyone. No, this cannot be applied. Only this equation should be considered, because it is a factor on geometry. Like if area is increased only, then only the more charge can be stored, like that, then only more capacitance. Okay, so this relation should be considered while discussing on the factors in which the capacitor depends on. Now most of the people have a doubt, capacitor acts as an open circuit to DC voltage. Then how you are applying DC voltage to the capacitor? What will happen when we are supplying DC voltage? You should always keep in the mind that the capacitor always charges to the supply voltage, and after reaching the particular voltage, suppose the capacitor is connected with a 12 volt battery, so the capacitor will charge up to 12 volt. Then after that the voltage remains constant. At that condition only the current through the capacitor will become 0. So initially the capacitor will charge to the maximum voltage, and then only the current, then only the change in the voltage becomes 0, because here we are considering dV by dt, right? When the voltage is constant, only dV by dt becomes 0. So here it has to be considered, imagined in that way only. That is, first initially the capacitor will charge up to the supply voltage, then the voltage reach a constant value, and then this factor will become 0. Now the second thing everyone have a doubt is that, can capacitors be replaced with the batteries? Not fully, because we know that for a same volume, battery can store more charge than a capacitor. That is one thing. Now the second thing is that battery does not discharge very easily. It can provide a consistent voltage, but in case of capacitor, it can be charged very fast and it also discharges very fastly. So this cannot be, even though charging and discharging is fast, the application in such cases, the application of the capacitor is limited. For example, in camera flashlight, we need a very large amount of energy for a short period of time. In that case, we use capacitance. We initially charge the capacitor with a battery, and then we will use the energy of the capacitor to work the flashlight. In such condition and all, we will be using capacitor. Now another thing is that in the battery, if we whether it is if you continuously use a battery, recharge it again and again, eventually it loses its capacity to keep the charge or store the charge, so we will throw the battery. But this is not the case with the capacitor. Since capacitor is storing the charges on the plates, it can be recharged any number of times. So both of them have its own merits and demerits, but one cannot be replaced with the other, and it can be used according to the applications. So now researchers, if those who are interested, they can Google and search for supercapacitor. Supercapacitor can be considered as a hybrid of both capacitor and battery. And if you, those who are interested, you can Google it and search. For our subject, we don't need that, so I'm not going into depth. Now I hope that the elements resistor, capacitor and inductor is very clear to you, and we have discussed almost every factors related to that. And one more thing, for those who have not watched my previous video, you can watch my first video on network theory, and in that I have explained the basic terminologies and all. So those who are interested in that, they can watch that video also. If you have any doubt, put it in the comment box so that I can answer your questions. Now thank you so much for watching my video.